you know, we are daddies.
Yes.
So he was my junior in Presec.
Yeah.
So
He seems to have a lot covered because
Yes.
whilst he was
Yes.
talking, I was noting down what you said.
Exactly.
You talk about the biological aspect, the
Yes.
psychological aspect,
And the social
aspect. Has he got all his
He's got his I's dotted and his T's crossed. In fact, he has taken the sail out of my my wing.
Okay,
And
so first let's start with the biological issue you identified.
so the biological issues that happened with this disaster include the fact that we're going to have a lot of waterborne diseases immediately. We are also going to have water-associated diseases, such as the fact that water has run through cemeteries. Embalming solutions that were used to bury these bodies have mixed with the water. People are likely, who are even wading through the water, are likely to be having some skin reactions and and other things. Water-related diseases are going to abound. The commonest immediate ones we are going to see are diarrheal diseases, especially among the children. So immediately, I'm glad he has mobilized the Ghana Medical Association, but this is to be taken up by the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service, so that we deploy doctors, we deploy nurses, and all the other cadres of health staff there to start checking in the camps, because some of these diseases are communicable. We do not want to have a public health disaster on our hand. So, this is not the time to say we are setting up an interministerial committee. This is the time to start meeting and sending people there in the relief of their biological needs. Now,
so urgent steps,
not committees. Immediate steps have to do with the health of the people. They are going to have water-related diseases. Malaria is going to increase. People in the camps must be given insecticide-treated nets because they have been displaced from their homes. And in the camps that they must be provided with insecticide-treated nets that they are going to use to sleep. The water that is breeding the mosquitoes, water around them or immediately around the camps must be protected. If there is something that must be done, larviciding, putting some oil on the surface of the water to reduce the surface tension, that the mosquito can not land on the water and breed. Because even if the water begins to recede, what we are going to see is an increase in mosquitoes in the area, which is going to invariably increase the malaria cases of the area. Cholera is likely to increase at this time because the people are going to be tempted to drink the water. Because of the drainage system, water would have seeped now into mixed with the sewage. A lot of people do not have water closets in their home. Honorable Akosombo was telling you about the thatch homes. Many of the homes have these toilets that they dig, the pit latrines, the KVIPs and things like that. Now the water has mixed with them. And you know what can happen. Parasitic infections, worm infestations are going to, be on the increase. We must now deworm the people immediately. So these are some of the medications that must be mobilized. And it is the technocrats, it's the people on the ground who must be called. It is not a matter of political promises or a matter of putting interministerial committees together who are going to now bring a report before we start acting. Immediately let the health needs of the people be met. Psychologically, that is why
before you go to the psychological aspect, he was talking about, in fact, the Togbegan was talking about food, water. Now, in the immediate, how important is even what they wear, the structures they sleep in, and what they call water, the kind of water they drink, the food, to ensuring that some of these issues you've raised are minimized.
Exactly. So warm clothes are also needed, but you see that is part of the psychological aspect that I'm going to deal with. Now, moving to the psychological aspect, you realize that homes have been submerged, properties have been lost. It is going to affect the psyche of the people. They are going to be, in fact, they are already traumatized. In addition to even the biological thing, it also includes their physical well-being. People are going to be injured. A lot of people wading into the water may have been injured already. And if somebody has been injured in the water, only God knows what may have, the wound might become infected and all that. So we need iodine, bandages, things that we can use to dress wounds if they should happen. Near drowning cases, he told you people are still attached to their homes and they may be reluctant to move. When the water begins to rise and people are experiencing near drowning, having near drowning experiences, we need people who will be there to, as it were, be branded to and be ready to save such lives and evacuate them first, give them first aid before evacuating them to the hospitals. Now, Togbe was telling you in one of the psychological things is the culture of the people. We have not taken that into consideration. If you are going to a predominantly Ewe community, you need to communicate to the people in their trauma in a language that they can understand. You do not send a boat that is branded Boafo to the community of Ewe-speaking people predominantly, and they may not even be willing to join the boat because they do not understand the language. So even though you are bringing relief to them, once the brand of the relief is not in their own language, they may think this is for some political expediency or things like that. But if you brand your boat or your relief in their language, Pedenuto, Honameto, whatever, they even begin to ask questions, and by word of mouth tell other people that relief has come. Hope, there is hope. But if you go there and it's as though they are the vulnerable ones and help is coming from somewhere else to them, they will not be willing, or they might not be, and it is not their fault at all. Togbe was concerned about the community entry. Right? You are going into a community that is affected by a disaster, traumatized by the disaster, and you do not deem it right to enter the community by seeking the consent of the paramount chief. That is a missed opportunity to cause a proper community entry, to make sure that the people who have been affected know that you have them at heart. We do that always when we go to the other regions, and we let the chiefs sit down in state and all that with the pomp and the pageantry. We visit them first before we enter the community. We don't see that happening in this case. And this is a disaster that has happened. It is a predetermined or pre-calculated thing that was done by an institution of government who did not pre-inform the people that this is what we are going to do, to make them prepared. And so the psychological trauma is on the high side. A lot of people are going through, their livelihoods have been destroyed, farms have been destroyed, homes have been destroyed. In fact, money has been lost. How are they going to recover from this? And I'm glad the MP on his own accord has decided that at this time the people need a clinical psychologist who will be able to tell them that we can come back from this, we can bounce back better, we can build back from what we have lost. You may be shocked that people might be devastated so much that the hope they had in their farm being lost, somebody can commit suicide. Somebody can just jump into a river and get drowned. But if we are able to, bring these people triage them according to their needs and properly handle their situation, we are going to make a headway. And I believe that these are the things we should be putting into even the formation of the ministerial committee, so that immediately they dispatch those they have to dispatch, and then have a debrief. At the end of the day, there should be a debrief of what has been achieved, what we intend to do the next day, and what we intend, because every single day the water level is rising. Homes are submerging every day, and therefore that psychological aspect must be a day-to-day activity. The regional minister is a medical doctor, and I think if he is listening, I mean, they will do the right thing. I mean, we say if you forget something and you go back to pick it, you haven't really erred. But if you really do not, go back to pick it, and you are entrenched in your way of doing things, it is not going to end well. And we might be having a public health disaster on our hands long after the flooding has even receded. Now, the social aspect that we need to consider when we are putting these things together, we are putting these NADMO committees together, is the significant others of the people. We live in a family unit, right? Now, people socially, we need to make sure they know that we are in this together. And that's why it's a missed opportunity to say that if it were because of votes, I wouldn't have come here. The president was right when he said, once I took the oath, I am for Ghanaians. And that's important to stress. I am for everybody. And we must begin to see that translate into action. That no matter where the disaster is occurring, we need to act swiftly and decisively. Now, socially, these people live in a certain cultural background. They are Tong people. They love the river. That is why they are called the Tong people. They are largely fisher folk. And therefore, these organizations that are coming, how can the states harness them to make them bond and to make them blend into the relief of the people? Because these people belong to social groupings, they belong to churches, they belong to other organizations. They belong to, certain NGOs have roles to play in those communities. How are we making sure that their social status is harnessed and put together to make sure that they come out of this disaster stronger, and we don't have any lingering conditions biologically affecting the people, psychologically affecting the people, and socially affecting the people. I'm sure that if we do this three-pronged approach of putting these aspects of biological, psychological, and social aspects together, relief will come, and in the immediate, medium, and long term, and the people will come back together and even help themselves. How do we rebuild homes that have been lost? How do we put families together? How do we put churches, mosques, all the social groupings? How do we bring them together at this time instead of dividing them along political lines, along tribal lines, along other irrelevant lines that will seek to divide them, instead of uniting them to forge ahead and make sure that this disaster is a thing of the past?
So far, are we getting anything right? Because if you listen to Honorable Kujato Ablakwa, he seems to have a clear idea as to how he's approaching this. But the bigger picture is where everybody is turning to the state, National Disaster Management Organization. You say you need to be catering for biological, social, you need to be catering for the psychological needs.
Yes.
I know NADMO is usually when they turn up usually they're thinking about relief items.
Exactly.
Where do you give you tent? So who else do we need to be bringing on board to make this work?
I think that NADMO should be the ones who are leading the onslaught.
Okay.
But they must lead the onslaught knowing that they do not know everything.
Okay.
And therefore, it is not just relief items. It is not just mattresses. It is not just rice. It is not just whatever they are providing. By now, NADMO should have the wing of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society fully matched to the Volta region. They should be dispatched to the Volta region. I haven't seen that happening or from the side of the National Disaster Management Organization. Maybe they don't know that the biological aspect of what I am talking about is very necessary. The Red Cross, Red Crescent Society, triaging must be done in the camps. Every single day, we must have people who are knowledgeable in. People will begin to complain. Oh, I am beginning to feel some allergies. I'm beginning to, have some running stomach. We need people who have to be isolated. If there is a communicable disease that has arisen because of this, there must be people, either from the Red Cross or from the Ghana Medical Association. And these people must be contacted by the National Disaster Management Commission. Ambulances must be stationed in all the camps by now to make sure that we are able to evacuate people from the disaster site. All right? And going forward, these are the things we must begin to see maybe even in the manifestos of the political parties. Health of the people in times of disaster. You realize that we are not prepared in times of disaster at all. Even though we have a National Disaster Management Organization, we are not prepared. Look, how many days ago has the spillage started? It's more than a week.
Yes, it's been more than a week.
So if we, at this time in the camps, we do not even have an ambulance stationed, then we have not done anything at all about the situation. And it means that this disaster is not an emergency. It is not a priority on our agenda. Maybe it is possible because, it is not a priority because likely politically it may not be a constituency that is on our heart. But this is a cataclysmic event which must be attended to with the immediacy or the urgency that it deserves. Ambulances are not available yet. Medicines have not been dispatched yet.
Okay.
Simple medicines like certain ORS.
Yeah. Because you're talking about
simple medicines like ORS, yes, have not been dispatched to the site yet. Medical people who are knowledgeable in medicine, nurses, health assistants, public health nurses have not been dispatched to the area yet. And
even yesterday, the assembly member from MEPE was complaining about the sanitation situation.
Exactly.
Even in the camps.
So the environmental department, of the National Disaster Management Organization, they have not been dispatched to the place yet. And when is the interministerial people going to think about this thing, think through it, and say, this is what we have to do? I think that 1 week is a long time enough to have put these structures into place. Then the psychological aspect. We have clinical psychologists all over. By now, an association, a team must be formed. Every camp should have at least a clinical psychologist. And as the days go by, they either have a shift system or as a new camp is built, a new clinical psychologist is added to those areas. Thirdly, in the social aspects, we have people of all religious backgrounds, right? Recently, the Muslims had their, is it Maulid?
Maulid, yeah.
Yes, Maulid. Now, from the chief imam's office, the state has to quickly go in, make sure that either their constituency or regional imams find people for the Muslims. This is not to break anybody on religious lines, but there is a way that Muslims will preach to their group. Times of prayer. Look, at this time, Muslims may not even be thinking of prayer. But if they see somebody who has been brought in to stand by them and to lead them in their times of prayer, they will have some hope. Even though they are living in a camp, they know that there is still a God who rules in the affairs of men.
And I guess that's why you're saying, how do we make sure we preserve the social life of the people?
Exactly. Long after the disaster is gone. Exactly. Yeah. The pastors, the churches, how do we get people to go there? This is the time I need to see the women's aglow going in and mobilizing women, because they are the hardest hit. We may not know. The men may take the issue on, and just sip it in. But the women, the children they have to cater for, I mean, the farmlands that they have lost, maybe their money be that they were hiding somewhere to augment their daily bread. It's lost in the water. So if we have some women groups who have been organized by the state to see to psyching them up, helping them to temporarily forget about the situation and focus on life ahead, knowing very well that after the disaster, we can build back. That will give hope to the people. And I believe it is achievable. I believe it is possible. I believe we can do it, even to show to the people that, look, we are in this together. You have given us your land for the construction. About 80% of our electricity generation still comes from the two dams, the Pong and the Akosombo Dam. Look, people have given their lands. They have not been adequately compensated yet. But this disaster has gotten to... We may not mention them when we are celebrating Founders Day. We may not mention them when we are celebrating... we are, looking for contributions of people who have made... people who have made significant contributions to the development of Ghana or the building of the state Ghana. But at least when disasters like this happen to them, the little we can do is to combine these simple steps to make sure that it makes a great impact in their lives.
Are we at a point where we should also be looking at how we handle disaster?
Yes, we are. In fact, we are not... These things, day by day, I see that we are not ready to handle disasters.
We are not ready at all.
We are not ready to handle disasters.
Is it an issue of systems not being in place?
Systems have not been put in place to handle disasters. The National Disaster Management Organization, by this time, since they were formed and inaugurated, with the budgets they are being given, by now, proper systems should have been put in place. And I am look, the accidents on our roads, the carnage on our roads is an epidemic. And look, God forbid, we don't even know. Even people in the National Disaster Management Organization do not know how to lift a person in an accident site.
Lift somebody?
Yes. If somebody has an accident, a trauma, in a mass casualty, you will be surprised to know that we rather, the way we lift people from accident sites, we rather kill them by the time we bring them to the hospital. We don't have boards to put the people on. We don't know that if somebody has an accident, the neck has to be secured in a neck collar to protect the spine. Because when the neck breaks, the person will die immediately. The way you lift the person from the accident site can cause the person to be paralyzed for life. The National Disaster Management Organization has not even thought of teaching people in schools, children, PE time. Let's have a PE that teaches about resuscitation. When somebody is drowning right now, you put a National Disaster Management Organization person on the site and see if they will be able to resuscitate that person. We are not ready for disasters, my brother. And it is time we stop paying lip service to our health system. It is time we stop paying lip service. The WHO has put in, I think, a 6 health strengthening system building blocks together. health financing, human resource development, leadership and organization, and the rest that we have to look at. Medicines. Look, yesterday on duty, I was defining the universal health coverage as Ghana defines it. It says that every person living in Ghana should have access to high quality medical care.
High quality?
Yes, high quality medical care, irrespective of the ability to pay at the point of service. Are we doing that? Irrespective of the ability to pay. That is our definition for the universal health coverage. And we have departments and agencies that have budget subventions every single day. But are we committed to this? This disaster has shown us that we are not ready. Immediately the flood started setting in, NADMO should have been mobilized to say, look, this disaster has health implications. There's going to be a public health disaster.
So they should have seen it ahead.
We should have seen this ahead and be prepared for it. But here we are. It is now that the president has gone there, and it is after the president's visit that a committee is going to be set.
Thinking about.
And it is now that their terms of reference is going to be drawn, within which they will act. Life will be lost. Livelihoods are lost. And the people need us.
And the action is now.
Action is now. In fact, action was yesterday.
Oh, okay. We are even late.
We are late. We are very, very late. Very late. And a life lost will never be regained. In fact, the president said most profound statements during the COVID time. He says, we will be able to recover the economy, but we will never be able to get back someone we have lost. This is the time to show that. Look, whether the people are in the Ewe community or in an Ashanti community or in a northern community, this is the time to show that we will not be able to get back a life that we have lost. And we shouldn't, we should be seen doing what we say we are doing.
Okay.
Justice should not be just served, but it should be seen to be served.
Doc, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for passing through. We should have you some more.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Dr. Emmanuel Addipa-Adapoe is a medical doctor. He is virtually more of a health advocate majority of the time, because if you know him on his Facebook page, constantly trying to speak to health issues when it comes to Ghana. Everywhere he sees a problem, he doesn't mind. He will speak his mind when it concerns health. We'll take a break. When we come back, Nancy will be in studio. My response to the president is that we are sorry we called you into this. If we knew, we wouldn't have invited you at all. But Nancy will join us. We'll talk about what we are trying to raise. We'll also remind you of the